Lorena from the Desk of Lorena. I'm going to show you today an extended nail plate. Now what that means is I'm going to be using Entity's Nudite Cover Powder. It's a camouflaging powder, and I'm going to make my nail plate longer than it is to actually accentuate it and make a more beautiful, dramatic nail plate that will actually allow me to build a deeper smile line so that you can get the look like you do in the magazines and stuff, like competition nails, something like that. So I'm going to show you how to use Nudite powder, and for myself I'm going to choose the warm pink. It's actually a warm tone and it fits almost all skin tones, but we also do make a cool pink for the lighter skin tones. So I'm going to show you that in just a minute here. Okay, so we're going to start our sculpted nail with our Entity sculpting form. And what you want to do first is you want to remove it from the paper and use the center tab to support the back of the form. So just place it there, and then you want to roll with your thumbs a C curve into the center grid of the form. Now I'm going to just test this form on myself to see that it fits properly. And my actual smile line of my nail is a little rounded, so I may need to alter the form just a tiny bit. And because I know my nail and I do them all the time, I've already pre-cut a form. And what I did here is just with the set of nippers or small scissors, I took and cut a little tiny V right out of the center. And that's going to allow the form to be placed properly so that I don't have any seepage of product, and I have the exact form fit that I want, and I will have the perfect C curve. So make sure that the grid is nice and even from side to side, and that your white center line is right dead smack in the middle of the nail. And you want that form coming up parallel out of the sidewalls. Then you want to take the tabs and place them exactly together. And once you've done that and you've secured your sidewalls, you look at this angle of the nail. Of course, working on yourself is a little more difficult than working on a client, but I do have a nail that is not your ideal nail plate. So I chose to do mine so that you can see how to actually alter a nail plate and give someone a very beautiful finished sculptured nail. Once you have your form on properly and it's nice and secure, then you're going to take Entity's New Bond, and I'm just going to apply a little. You want to make sure it's nice and generous. It's an acid-free primer, so it doesn't contain any methacrylic acid, and you're going to apply it like you're applying a thin coat of polish on the entire nail plate. Now this product is going to stay wet and shiny the entire time. I choose to do one hand at a time, and then when I'm done with the first hand, I will apply the other 5 fingers and then go to my powder and liquid. So once I'm ready to apply product, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the reverse method. Rather than applying the white powder first, I'm going to pick up a medium-sized bead of my warm pink Nudite powder, and that's a coverage powder. So you want to make sure, the number one thing you want to do is make sure that you use these cover powders much more dry than you normally would. If you tend to use too much liquid, you're going to definitely get some transparency or translucency in the product. So make sure that when you apply it, that you're using it nice and dry. Now, I said you want to use a medium-sized bead, and you let that powder absorb the entire amount of liquid, and you're going to just remove a little bit of liquid off your brush. Make sure that bead is dried out. And then you're going to drop that bead where it actually hits half the bead will be on the nail plate and half will be on the form. Now you can see that it's somewhat dry because it's not moving much, and product control is really important when you're using these cover powders. Now I'm just blending it back onto the nail plate. You can start thinning it out. You want to make sure that you only apply it in the center portion of your actual nail plate. If you apply too much and you make it too large, you're going to end up with a nail that looks really artificial. You don't want to extend it too dramatically. And you can see where I'm having to kind of pat a little harder or press a little harder, and that's because I'm using the right consistency with my powder and liquid, which is much drier than you normally would. That's the way you're going to actually get the proper coverage. So you can see that you can't see my actual natural smile line right here. Now I'm going to take the second bead, and here you can use it a little wetter if you'd like. You'd get a little bit more realism or a little bit of translucency so that it doesn't look so kind of chalky. And you're going to start blending those beads together. Now what you're doing actually is you're making the smile line into the pink. You're building it there, and you want to make sure that you have a really crisp line so that you can actually just butt the white product right up onto that smile line. So that's why it's called a reverse method. You're not going to build it with the white. Okay, so I've made that product nice and smooth. I'm going to take my last bead towards the cuticle area, and I'm going to apply it a little bit wetter even so that it blends very nicely and it doesn't look real chalky there at the cuticle area. It looks nice and blended. Almost looks like your own natural nail color. Okay, once I've done that, and if I'm really happy with my smile line or the way that I've built it, I should be able to go right with my white powder. A lot of times you can see that people will take a file and they'll file here with the file to ensure that they have a really crisp, tight smile line. I tend not to do that because I don't want to make that form fall at all if I'm adding any pressure with the file. So I will just leave it where it's at and make sure that I'm using my brush nice and dry when I'm carving into the smile line. That's going to really ensure that you end up with a crisp line there. It's kind of like you're building a little wall. So you look at your side profile, make sure that your apex is right where you want it. Okay. And if you're missing just a tiny bit of product, go in with the bead, but make sure you dry it out and then add where needed. I was a little shy of product here and here. Okay, now I can go in with my white. Now the goal here is to take one large bead and do your entire coverage area for your free edge. You should be able to go all the way up to the corners of the smile line. Okay, so now that we've got our extended nail plate on, we're going to go in and pick up one large white bead. And you want to make sure that your powder absorbs all the liquid, and you'll see that bead turn from kind of that grainy look to really smooth and creamy. And once it does that, you can remove some excess liquid off the back of your brush. Make sure that you are using your powder relatively on the drier side. You still have liquid in the reserve of your brush, and you're going to just move that powder all the way up, or move that bead all the way up to that smile line. Using nice deliberate motions, but yet you don't want to really push or beat on your product. You want to treat it gently. Go pat it into place. Make sure that you move that product all the way up into the corners of that smile line. Now any excess product that gets up here on the nail plate, it's okay, because you're going to file that off and you're still going to have that beautiful, nice, crisp smile line that you built with your brush or you filed out with the file. I'm stretching that product to build my entire free edge. And I don't worry about this part here because I'm going to file that straight. Anything that you missed, you want to go back and make sure that when you pick up a bead or excess product to fill in an area, you want to make sure that you dry it out as well so that you have the same consistency in white. So I'm going to fill right here. Dry out your brush and then go back and press that product into place. And you can give it a little cleaning or wiping it, but you are actually going to get that crisp smile line when you file the nail. Just making sure that I cover that entire area there. Make sure you go all the way up into the corner of that smile line. Okay, my free edge is relatively thin, so I'm going to go back in with one more bead, dry it out, and I'm going to just thicken up that free edge to make sure that it has a salon quality thickness so that it will uphold for at least 3 weeks when the client leaves the salon. Okay, now when I applied that, I did this on purpose where I applied that excess white right over the nudity extended part of the nail so that you can see when I file that nice and clean and smooth at the finish, it's going to have a beautiful crisp smile line. Okay, so you want to make sure once the white has been applied that you mold the C curve into the nail. You can also use your sculpting tongs or pinching tongs. I tend to use my fingers first. Once the product is somewhat relatively set, you don't want to go in while it's too wet. If you're able to get your form off, you know that the product is dry. So you can see that nice, deep, beautiful C curve already in there. And I'm just going to take my thumb and my finger here and make sure that I have the C curve all the way through the barrel of the nail. And you can see it underneath. You can also check it with the C curve stick to make sure that it's nice and uniform all the way through. Now I know you're looking at this nail thinking, wow, that smile line looks horrible. But I did that so that you can see once I file it. I'm going to go in with the 150 really quick just over the surface, just show you one little piece of it here. Let me just cover up this product and get any dust in there. Okay, I'm going in with our 150 file from Entity, and I'm just doing the smile line area right now just so you guys can see how it's going to be nice and clean and sharp. Okay, so I finished my filing after I did the 150 to contour the nail and remove all the excess product. I then went in with my 180 to do my surface filing on the entire surface of the nail. So there you can see my beautiful, nice, sharp, crisp smile line. And now I'm going to just take the 100 grit side of our buffer and just smooth it out a little bit. I don't want to get rid of too many of the file marks because I am going to top coat it with a gel top coat. You can use our UV gel top coat, which is curable in LED or UV, or our soak off gel top coat from our EOCC, our Entity One Color Couture collection. And you want to make sure you clean it off really good, get all the dust off. And I'm actually going to show you how to apply that very quickly. And use our Entity LED light. It does require a 60-second cure. Sorry, you can wind it out. So our Entity One Soak Off Gel Top Coat. You don't want to use a lot. You only need a very little amount. And I start here and I push back towards the cuticle and then stop right at the cuticle line and come forward. You can even remove excess off your brush if need be and come all the way down. Make sure you hit the entire surface area, and you always, when you're using a gel top coat or any gel polish, in fact, make sure that you cover your sidewalls. And I go underneath that sidewall just a little bit to cap it, as well as cover the entire free edge of the nail. And I'm just giving it a couple more strokes to make sure I get a nice even finish on that. Okay, and when that's done, you're going to cure that for 60 seconds. And when it comes out of there, you're just going to, with our natural nail prep, remove the inhibition layer or the sticky layer, and then you're good to go. And always finish off every service with your Entity Cuticle Oil. Okay, this particular one has a little dropper, which is your tabletop size, and we also carry a smaller one for like a purse size. It's nice to give actually away for the holidays to your clients. And we also carry a 4-ounce refill with a flip top lid, which is really cool because it makes it nice. It's not easy to spill at your table. So I'm going to bring that out now. It's not quite a minute, but we're going to go ahead and show you the finished nail. That is your Nudite Extended Nail Plate. So once again, you can use your Nudite powders in cool or warm pink to extend nail plates or cover any imperfections of the nail plate. So if you have any spots or bruises, things like that, you can cover those up and your client would never know. There is your extended nail plate. And this is episode 3 from the Desk of Lorena. Thanks, guys.